our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you know, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly known as the Embodied Healing Self Podcast, with your host, jenmons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha and welcome back to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. I'm so excited to be spending another week with you here on the podcast. We've been going since March of 2019, formerly the Embodied Healing Self Podcast, and since May, we are the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. And this week, we are on week 8 of our 10-week prosperity experience on the podcast. So if you are catching up, I'd invite you to go back 7 episodes to where we began. And that was with creating your prosperity roadmap. This is all about healing your relationship to money. The 5th element of wealth, WELLTH, wealth and well-being. So episode 156, 5 steps to create your prosperity roadmap. After that, 157, awaken your money origin story, identify your money saboteurs. 158, create your empowering money story. 159, attune to the frequency of wealth. Episode 160, the embodiment of receiving. 161, amplify prosperity consciousness through your money love language. And then last week, alchemizing your worth to wealth. And so this week, super fun topic. We kind of started to get into it a little bit last week, so we're gonna recap some of the work we did last week and just expand a little further into that. This week's all about allowing your passion to create prosperity, your joy, your passion to show you prosperity, and really just the invitation to allow and believe that the things that bring you joy are the things that you're meant to do, meant to be in this life. And I feel like, and what I've witnessed is that as adults, most of us have forgotten that. Like, for some reason along the way, we, out of scarcity and mistrust, challenges, learned behaviors, probably related to money, we may have chosen, I know I did originally, chosen a career path or a way that we work, and the way that we choose to be the source of money and receiving money is our work. We might work really, really hard. We might not get paid what we want. We might not do the thing that we want. Maybe we get paid really well, but we don't do the thing that we want. So is it possible to do both? Or is it possible to even show up in my current workplace in the energy that I want? Maybe it's not the dream job, but what can I shift about myself in the environment that I'm already in? What joy can I find in the place that I'm already in? Because I'm not here to say, if you don't like your job, quit your job. I would never say that, because I believe that where you are is the vehicle for the next thing. And I've been doing this long enough to see the beauty is that everything that you're doing and or have done is divinely supporting you into where you're going. That's just what I know to be true. What I can't deny, because I've witnessed it hundreds of times with the women that I've coached since 2009 and in my own life, even when it doesn't make sense. I mean, this is coming from a former academy graduate, engineer, Coast Guard license, military reservist, corporate person with the craziest degrees and certifications that mean nothing, like welding and firefighting, and to be a captain of a ship and an engineer. But then I learned how to navigate by the stars and celestial navigation. I learned how to put out different types of fire with different types of fire extinguishing equipment, which directly relates to how you can't use the same type of tool to put out in different relationships. And navigating by the stars is about being in the flow, because it continuously changes minute to minute, the altitude of the stars, but the North Star in the sky never moves. And so that's always your main point of reference. And as crazy as that sounds, I mean, even the group collective of women that I've been leading through 5-element wealth and 12 pillars to soul wisdom since 2017 is called the North Star Collective, because it's about leading from your inner light. So there's who would ever think that would even apply to health, life, and feminine leadership coaching? Well, I don't know, but somehow in my mind it did. And so this week is about allowing your passion to create prosperity. Last week we talked about spiritual and physical gifts and talents, and we're going to just expand upon that even more this week, because that's what this week is really about. And it's about coming from a place of joy, getting super clear and asking yourself, what are the things that light me up? What do I get excited about? Time in nature, traveling, food, music. I'm thinking about, so many of my different clients right now who truly have a love for food and a passion to create different types of food, or truly have a passion for music. And so they have an ear for discovering new types of music, where other people would love to be brought into that, but just don't quite have the ear, or they don't know how to expose themselves to, new types of music or new types of food or places to travel. One of the ways that I allow my passion to create prosperity is through retreats. I have, since a very young age, well, I guess I started traveling through my college experience at the age of 18, and have since been to over 40 countries, did a homeschool travel year with my kids in 2015. They've been to probably, I think, 11 or 12 countries. So travel and adventure is super important to me. Of course, now my older daughter lives in Hawaii to finish high school, wants to go to college in Italy. So, there is the other side of it, to where you give them so much courage that the world becomes very small to them, and they have no problem just leaving and going far away. So she's looking at college in Australia or Italy, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess, we sort of created this with a homeschool travel year, right? There's no fear in living in a different country, which is super awesome. Takes a lot of courage. But one of the ways I do that is I create retreats, and I do this in other countries. Costa Rica, I have had them scheduled in Peru and Bali. I wasn't able to carry those out because of COVID, but Hawaii, Florida, California. I'm looking to expanding into France, considering revisiting the retreat to Peru and Bali as well. Really just to provide a life-changing experience for women through a retreat. So the question for you is, looking back on last week, and if you didn't join us last week, then perhaps listen to that episode first. We're going to ask some of the same questions again, so no worries that if you did miss it. But looking back last week, like, what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about what I love? When I look at the course of my life, what are the themes? What have I always been good at? Have I always been a water person? Have I always been an athletic person? Have I always been a music person or a creative person or a logistics and systems and strategy person? Like, what themes do I notice throughout my life? Have I always been in leadership? Have I always been like a coach or a teacher or the captain of a sports team? Because I'm willing to bet you're going to notice some themes throughout your life. Have I always been into health and fitness? Have I always been into liberal arts? Have I always been into government? Have I always been into family? Have I always been into God and spirituality, or either or? Have I always been in, like, what have I always been into? What do I notice? So this week is really about allowing yourself to expand in your life through joy. So the first question is, after we answer the question, what themes did I notice from last week? And if you don't have that, don't worry. We're going to ask some of the same questions again, because even if you did it last week, it could change this week. But what is the thing that brings me joy and really lights me up? Like, if time and money were no issue, what would I do right now? What would I do? Would you get on a sailboat and sail around the world? Would you travel? Would you help homeless people? Would you create an event or an experience? Would you write a book? If you didn't have to work, like, what would be the thing that you would do that you wouldn't consider work? Lead people, mentor people. I'm saying things that I like to do. Cook for people. Lead a workout class. What would you do? The thing that just brings you so much joy. Would you take care of children? Would you take care of people? Would you be a financial person? Would you manage people's money? Like, what would you do if time and money were no issue? What really, really brings you joy? And then, so just to revisit what we went through last week, because that's really important for this week, is, if you haven't done this, make a list of your skills. The skill is something that you've been trained in. Maybe you don't totally enjoy it and doesn't come super easy to you, but you can do it. Like, my example is an Excel sheet. Like, for some reason, I'm really good at them because I love math, but I don't necessarily enjoy them, and it doesn't come easy to me, but it's just something that I realize not everybody can do. Spelling and grammar, on the other hand, if you've been in my circles, you probably know that's like I'm a math person. Sometimes there's grammar and spelling things, and I have plenty of clients who that is their skill, and they like to tell me about it. So we all have different skills, right? We've got like the grammar people, we've got the perfectionists, we've got the math people who can create systems and structures, but maybe not always write it in the most perfect sentence. So that's like a skill. What are your talents? Might be music or baking or gardening or dancing or, what, like something super fun that comes easily to you. What are your certifications? What have you actually invested in? That's why we're asking this question. Most women in my circles are over-certified, just like myself, overqualified. They're super amazing women, and they've been willing to invest in themselves time and time again. And at the same time, there's always a balance, right? Like, so it's like noticing, is it easier to invest in a certification than it is in your own well-being? Because I do see that quite often as well. Not for all of us, but some of us. They want a result. They want a piece of paper. They want a certification that's easier than like going in and doing the dirty work, the shadow work. So make a list of your unique certifications. Make a list of your top 5 values, what they mean to you and why they're important to you. Look at that list and ask yourself, how am I living in alignment with my values? So last week we spent a little bit more time talking about like the patterns and the sabotaging behaviors, limiting beliefs, whatever you want to call them, that hold us back, and really getting clear on how do we lead life from our gifts and not our wounds. So taking a look at the sabotaging behaviors on one side of the piece of paper, and then on the other side of the piece of paper, taking a look at the talents, gifts, and values that you have. And really just kind of looking at both of them and asking yourself, like, how am I living in alignment with this right now? Another thing you can do is take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle, and on the left side of the piece of paper, write down the 10 things that are most painful in your life right now. Like, think about those relationships that you can feel the tightness in your belly. And on the right side, write down the 10 things you're most grateful for. You might even notice some of those are the same. Maybe a lot of them are the same. But really kind of bringing clarity to what are the things that aren't serving me and what do I want to shift? Who do I want to become in my life? And just getting super clear on that. And so once you've made a list of your skills, your talents, your certifications, and your values, make a list of the things that light you up and bring you joy, if you haven't done this already. So we're building upon this. We're noticing, like, what am I good at and what can I naturally do, and then what makes me super happy? And what gift would I like to share in the world? Maybe you've always been good at music, good at writing, good at baking. It could be as something as, simple as, well, I say simple, but it could be writing a blog, but it could also, maybe it could be writing a book. But what's the thing that you want to look back on your life and be super proud of? Like, I did that. I accomplished it. I said I was going to do it, and it felt really, really good. Or do you have that in you? Do you have that fire in you that says, this is what I want to leave behind in my life? I want to leave this imprint on the people that are a part of my life. I want to leave this behind for them. Or this is we're working up to what is my legacy. Like, this is what I want to be remembered for. I was watching a surf movie last night with my older daughter my younger daughter, she's 13. Amazing competitive surfer on a level that I honestly can't comprehend. She's on the U.S. Junior Olympic surfing team, U16 team at the age of 13, surfing QS events already. And so we just had this woman over at our house a while ago, Moana Jones, and that's not my daughter. This is the movie we were watching on this woman. Her dream is always to be the first woman to surf pipeline. She had that dream since she was 12 years old, and I don't know, she might be like 30 now, and she did it. Like, that is what she set out to do, and she did it. She's like queen of the most dangerous wave in the world. And the first time the women got invited to surf that, she did it, and she won an event, and it's just literally had me in tears that when I hear people say this is what I'm gonna do and they do it. Like, so ask yourself in your life, like, what do you want to do? What impact do you want to create? Maybe at your workplace. Maybe you integrate new ways of communicating, new ways of leadership, new ways of creating impactful, insightful, healthy relationships at work. Or maybe you do this in your home. It could be something like that doesn't seem like large scale from the outside, but is actually extremely impactful. Creating that ripple effect, starting in your own home. starting at your workplace, starting in your community. Or maybe you are already doing that. You're embodying your values. You feel great about that. You take care of your health. You have healthy relationships in your life. And now you're nourished enough that you're ready to expand and build upon that and create something bigger to put out in the world, to bring opportunity to other people, to tap into their joy. Because when we do this, we give other people permission to do the same thing. I have the most fun and I am the most grounded and resourced when I am leading women, especially at retreats. Because we're in person, we're doing a lot of embodiment practices, a lot of different types of movement. We're transmuting a lot of energy physically while also being nurtured and supported with healthy food and loving, nurturing, I don't want to say it all, but like different types of classes, but also just different things that we do. And then we get into the creative vision work. Like we go through all of that. That's sort of like my special sauce. And the retreats I do is that it's a lot of embodiment. It's a lot of transformation energetically through what I like. An example would be like through my soul wisdom imprinting method, which we'll put that link in the show notes. You've heard me talk about it before, but we have to go through this process where we peel the layers in order to ignite the light within us again. And then in that place, we discover this untapped, creative life force energy that we forgot we had, or we didn't know that we had. But we don't get there unless we are nourished, resourced, grounded, supported, willing, courageous to peel the layers and get rid of the stuff not serving us, take care of ourselves, and from that place, we expand into the limitless possibility. So if you are like, what do you mean limitless possibility? If you're not feeling into that, then you may want to start somewhere else, resourcing, grounding, nourishing yourself. Because when you're well taken care of, like getting sick, for example, I mean, from a person who was chronically ill for many, many years of her life, which is why I got into integrative health coaching, I never get sick because I'm in alignment and I'm like, I prioritize myself. I am health every single day. I've learned that. I've lived through 2 health crises. It's non-negotiable. It's something that I embody. And now I'm, my intention for the past 7 years is to be that way, expand into that emotionally, energetically, spiritually, mentally. And it's a process. But the more you practice it, the more you embody it, the easier it gets. And it's not something you do. It's just what you become every single day. And you get there by giving yourself these little experiences to expand and grow through them. And that's a lot of what I do at retreats. So getting clear on what are the things that light me up? How can I bring more of this into my life? What gifts can I bring into the world? To the people in my life, my family, my workplace, my community. What am I a stand for? What service to humanity am I committed to? Like, bringing in, increasing your financial abundance allows you, and prosperity consciousness, to then put it back into the world in the ways that you choose, which is really awesome. You get to expand your values. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're somebody who probably has pretty amazing values because you value well-being in yourself, probably leadership, probably, honesty, and some of the things that we talk about on the show, and feminine energy. And so you want to expand more of that out into the world, because this is how we make the world a more enjoyable place for our children to live in. The next question is, what am I fully ready to claim around my personal truth? What is my intention moving forward? What am I fully ready to claim? Like I'm stand for this and I'm ready to claim this. This is what I'm not available for. This is what I am available for. And what is my intention moving forward? What is one small action step I can take today? So I'm going to give you a little homework assignment as we bring this to a close. Create a list today that talk about the things that we listed, your core values, your skills, your gifts, your talents. And then we're going to add one more because they're not going to know your certifications, but we're going to add your characteristics. So like characteristics could be like the ones that people, when I did this with my friends, that some of the words that came up would be like, I'm very loyal, I'm very honest, nurturing, fierce, adventurous, passionate, willing. So those are some words. So those would be characteristics that describe you. So create a list of 5 friends and ask them for 5 words that describe your characteristics. So you're going to now look at your list of skills, talents, your list of your values and your certifications. Then you're going to take this list from your friends that describe your characteristics. If you want to go a little further, ask them what they think your gifts are. Because it's always really fun to do. See what people, think you're good at. And your characteristics, and take a look and notice the themes within all these lists. Circle the top 5. So you ask 5 friends for characteristics. Circle the top 5 that seem to be repeating within that list. Notice how this correlates with your skills, your talents, your values. And just kind of start noticing the pattern of like where you're aligned and how you're showing up in the world as it relates to how you want to show up in the world. And then ask yourself the question, when I think about my life experiences and my current circles of influence and concern, so these are like people at work versus your friends based on these lists, where are my gifts and talents best used? So this is showing you how you're showing up in the world in like your friend group, and then, maybe the people at work, or maybe you even look across at like your community. Like, how am I showing up in the world? And where are my gifts and talents best used? So like at work, if you're, are you in the role that really supports your efficiency through joy and through your talents in your role at work? Or do you find that you're showing up in your survivor strategies? You're showing up super guarded, and it's creating a lot of stress because you can't be you at work. And then lastly, ask yourself, if I could get paid to do or be anything, what would it be? Just for fun. How much would I get paid? How many hours would I work? What would it be? What would I do? What service do I want to do in the world from a place of just complete joy, and I got paid for it? I am always curious and kind of blown away at how much we have settled for. I want to say that again. I am always curious about what we're willing to settle for. Okay, so for some of you, this might mean in your marriage, or friendships, or health. There's a difference between settling and acceptance. Settling is like, you just don't believe there's any other choice. That's the belief you're choosing to believe. But also with work and pay. I mean, I'm really, truly, so I've been in the military. I have worked corporate. I worked corporate until 2007. I worked corporate for 7 years, 8 years, but 1 year I took off. And just the amount of hours that I worked and what was expected of me personally for the pay that I was getting was just insane. Like, insanely inhumane. And I see this pattern of, but what I know is that had to do with my willingness to overwork because I was seeking validation. So it's not necessarily the fault of the corporate world and the company, although I do see that a lot in corporate culture, but you play a role in what you're willing to accept because you do get to choose how and what you get paid for. Now, I know that there's measures and performance indicators at work, and you get to speak to that. You get to speak with that, to that. And I've just been, I guess, I can't really find the word right now, but I just feel, and I have seen, and I've helped so many women in this process really own their worth, whether they've like, I'm not telling you to leave your job because where you are is the vehicle for the next thing. However, I will just say that coincidentally, through my work with many women, they end up getting a job that makes them happier and pays them more, or they end up creating their own thing where they have more time, freedom, and they make the same amount of money through my work with them, just because many of us are just too busy to even stop and think about how this is really impacting our health and well-being in relationships. So maybe that's a question for you too, just taking note of, like, you know, what your work is in the world, and is it healthy? How is it impacting other relationships in your life? I had a health crisis because I worked too hard in 2006. And so, you know, that this is to inspire that doesn't happen for you. Like, don't wait until the health crisis or the marriage crisis. Don't wait until then. And what if you could be paid? Now, there's two different levels to this. You can be paid to do what you love and comes easier for you in your current, like, line of work. So you can be a lawyer, but maybe you want to shift who you serve or the type that you do. Or same thing with doctors. I mean, I've known doctors that have chosen to go completely integrative, or even coach other doctors. Like, they've just shifted, they've taken their medical degree and that provides them expertise, and then they've just created something out of pure joy that's not traditional. So I just wonder, it just makes me curious, right? Like, what might be possible? What am I not looking at as a possibility in my life? Do I think I'm constrained by my certifications and my training? What might be possible? And I'm coming from a place of feeling super grateful. It hasn't been easy. It's been a long road. I'm not going to sugarcoat it with rainbows and unicorns. But I do love being an entrepreneur because I love time freedom. Money in the very beginning, in the year when I graduated from college, I always took the job that took me to the place I wanted to live versus the highest paying when it was corporate. And the crazy thing is I was telling my business coach the other day, I was offered a job that for pay up to like $750,000 a year. And it was just so misaligned with my soul. I could feel that it would just kill me inside. I couldn't do it. And so I thought, well, what if I'm in the energy of that, what if I could bring that in doing work that I love? Because it's already in my energy field. So what if I could do that doing work that I love? And so, you know, I'm step by step on my way to building that. And I've created a lot of time and financial freedom doing work that I love. And I lead other women to do the same. Corporate just wasn't for me. But that's not to say that you can't totally thrive and expand in it. My creativity is, like, I really just love to create, and I really love time freedom, and I travel a lot with my family. So that was just the path that I chose. But this is really more about you getting clear on what life do you want to live? What do you want to create? So I'd love to hear how this lands for you. Your homework is, I've given you several things to journal. The last thing that I want to invite you to do is something called, and I've been leading women through this for many, many years, is a self-devotion sort of legacy statement, in which would really just be a letter to yourself of like, what do you want to leave behind? What do you stand for? What are your values? What do you want to be and do and share in the world? What would that be? Just like dreaming. And yeah, just write that. And it's really fun because I've been doing it for many years. Actually, I still have one from the year 2000. And you'll notice that over time that the core of who you are doesn't really change, but that what might change is your perception of what's available. Like, I've noticed my, I guess, circle of influence and concern influence has expanded. So my perception has just grown quite a bit, but the core of who I am and where I come from has remained the same for 22 years since I've been doing this. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. And again, I'd like to invite you to join us. If you haven't already, you're hearing this on this week and it's happening. We have our Winter Solstice Workshop December 21st from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to reflect back through the year. This is for the person who's really ready to look at some of these things. But month by month through 2022, what do you want to stand in 2023? What do you want to bring into kind of wrapping up energetically the year of 2022? What no longer served you? What went well? What didn't? What are you grateful for? And then moving into writing that letter to yourself so that we can create space for something new in 2023. Join us. We'll put that link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me again. I hope you all have a absolutely fantastic day, and I'm really looking forward to meeting with you again next week, leaving a legacy of generational wealth. We're going to talk about 4 levels of financial freedom, and we're going to talk about the bigger vision, the bigger why beyond you, and creating that impact, that ripple effect out into the community, into the world from your passion. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all again next week.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly the Embodied Healing Self Podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you. A meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.